I'm getting boxed like a fish. Oh my god.
That's worse than work. That's way like that's sweatshop hours right there.
Hey everyone, it's Intel here. So in this video, I'm going to be checking out and reviewing the glorious Model D wireless as well as the Model O- wireless for Minecraft PvP and bridging. These are some very interesting mice, and I think it may be the new endgame mouse for a lot of different people. So make sure to stick around until the end to find out if that could be you. I'm also going to be having SammyGreen give you guys his thoughts on the Model D wireless later in the video, so make sure to stick around for that. I do also want to say that most of this video is going to be focused on the Model D wireless. The Model D and Model O wireless are literally the exact same mouse except for a different shape. So whatever I say about the Model D wireless, besides the shape, is also going to apply to the Model O- wireless as well. Also, really quickly, I just got my new Lunar Clan cloak, so this is what it looks like. The idea of it is sort of based off of a lucky cat, which you see at like Chinese restaurants. I think it looks really sick. If you guys want to cop it and also help support me, then the link is going to be down in the description. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Here we are with the glorious Model D wireless and Model O- wireless. Both of these mice are marketed as premium lightweight wireless gaming mice, with the glorious Model D wireless coming in at 69 grams and the Model O- wireless coming in at 65 grams. This puts them on the same category as something like the Logitech G Pro Wireless Superlight or the Razer Viper Ultimate, but the main difference is that these mice only cost $80 in comparison with the Logitech G Pro Wireless Superlight and the Viper Ultimate, which usually range from $100 to $150. So when it comes to value, the glorious wireless gaming mice are extremely competitive options. So let's start with what comes in the box, and I should mention that Glorious sent both of these mice for me to review. Of course, that isn't going to impact this review at all, but it is something that I need to mention. Unboxing both the Model D wireless and Model O- wireless is the exact same experience. In the box, you get the mouse, the receiver, which you need to make the mouse work wirelessly, a braided USB-C cable, which does actually feel really nice and really loose, so even if you wanted to use these mice in wired mode, that wouldn't be a problem at all because of how flexible these cables are, as well as some paperwork and some glorious stickers. Let's now get into the physical characteristics of both of these mice. The Model D wireless is a large right-handed ergonomic mouse. It's definitely been a while for me since I've mained an ergonomic shaped mouse. My very first gaming mouse was actually a Razer Death Adder, and then from that I switched to a Logitech G403. If you've used any of those mice, then this is probably going to be a really familiar shape to you. The Model D wireless is roughly the same size as the Razer Death Adder, and it is a large mouse. If you've never used an ergonomic shaped mouse before, then expect this mouse to really fill up your hand. What's really nice about ergonomic shaped mice is that they feel really comfortable when you rest your entire hand on them, but at the same time they aren't for everyone. It really just depends on what grip you use and how big your hands are, and this mouse is definitely catered towards people with more larger hands. In contrast, the Model O- wireless is an ambidextrous shaped mouse, although it does only have side buttons on the right side of it, and the Model O- wireless is seriously tiny. It is so small. It's hard to see just how small it is when I compare it to my Logitech G Pro Wireless Superlight, but trust me, this mouse feels tiny in your hands. It feels like it was meant for babies to use. Can you imagine just some 3-year-old preschooler clicking 20 CPS on this mouse and 5 blocking you in a Bedwars game? Both of these mice come in different sizes, so for the Model D wireless, there's a Model D- wireless, which is smaller, and then I'm sure everyone's already aware of the Model O wireless, which is obviously bigger than the Model O- wireless. So whatever hand size that you have, whether it be small or big, Glorious does have a mouse that probably will work for you. Both of these mice come with the same stock feet, and they're okay. They are definitely passable, although in my experience, third-party mice feet like Core Pads or Tiger Ice feet usually are a little bit faster. So let's now talk about the build quality, and let me tell you, the build quality on both of these mice is fantastic. Both of these mice feel super solid in the hand. There's no flexing or creaking or any rattling, and the main mouse buttons have barely any pre and post travel. The build quality on both of these mice is near perfect except for one issue that's exclusive to the Model D wireless. Basically, whenever you drop the mouse on the mouse pad, the clicks will sometimes register. I've seen other people who have reviewed this mouse make a pretty big deal out of this, but in my experience, this never happened to me in game while I was playing. Like, you need to be intentionally trying to slam your mouse on your mouse pad to actually get the clicks to register, so this basically basically never happened to me, but depending on how you play, I guess, your mileage may vary. Overall, Glorious has improved their build quality a lot, especially when compared to their previous mice that they've released, so huge props to them. So both the Glorious Model D wireless and the Model O- wireless use Glorious Core for their software. This software includes an adjustable debounce slider that goes to 0 ms, which is what these mice are known for in the Minecraft community. Setting the debounce time of these mice to 0 ms allows both of these mice to double click and drag click. For me, butterfly clicking up to 20 CPS with both of these mice was definitely possible, and I'd imagine for someone who's better at butterfly clicking than I am that they could possibly get higher than that. Like I said, drag clicking on this mouse is also possible. For me, the coding that's used on the left and right click isn't as ideal as something like the Bloody A bedless, but that can easily be remedied by using grip tape or electrical or masking tape. I get around 20 to 30 CPS drag clicking on my Model D wireless, but for someone who's an experienced drag clicker, they could definitely get more than that. As you can see, God bridging was easy for me to do on this mouse, so I think this is a really solid mouse for bridgers as well. So both the left and right clicks of the Model D wireless and the Model O- wireless use Kale 8.0 switches. This is different from the Omron 20Ms that the regular Model O wireless uses. It's sort of strange to me that all the wireless Glorious mice except for the Model O wireless use Kale 8.0 switches, but maybe they'll change that in the future. The clicks on both of these mice feel pretty good. I'd say that the clicks are a tad bit heavier than some of the other gaming mice that I've used, although they're nowhere near as heavy as the clicks on the Final Mouse Starlight 12, but they definitely feel a little bit heavier in, for example, the clicks in most Logitech and Razer mice. For jitter clicking, the clicks are alright, but they're not as good as the clicks on my Logitech G Pro Wireless Superlight. The clicks on the Superlight feel a little bit lighter, and they also feel more bouncy, so spam clicking and jitter clicking is really effortless on the Superlight, and jitter clicking on the Model D wireless and the Model O- wireless felt like it took a little bit more effort for me. I don't know if that's attributed to the fact that they use Kale 8.0s or if it has to do with the Switch implementation, but I would love to see Glorious make the clicks feel more lighter and bouncy in their later revisions of these mice, and that would make it feel so much better for Minecraft PvP in my opinion. For butterfly clicking and drag clicking, the clicks are completely fine, there's no problems, but for jitter clicking and normal clicking, they could be a little bit better. So now let me talk a little bit more about the shape of the Model D wireless and the Model O- wireless. As I said before, the shape of the Model D wireless felt super big to me at first, but I actually adjusted to this pretty quickly. The sides on the mouse are for the most part flat and pretty wide, so there's a lot of room for you to grip the mouse, and the clicks have plenty enough room for you to be able to fit 2 fingers on each of them. The shape is a bit similar to the Razer Death Adder, but the sides on the Model D wireless are more flat than the curved ones on the Razer Death Adder, so I actually prefer this shape a lot more. I think this actually might be one of my favorite shapes for Minecraft PvP, with the Superlight shape being still a little bit better, but this is still really good. The Model O- wireless, in contrast, is a less than ideal shape for me, so I don't really like the shape of the regular Glorious Model O. The Model O felt way too flat for me, and because of how the sides were shaped, it couldn't really allow me to get a good grip on my mouse. I didn't like how narrow the sides were, and I felt like they should have been more flat. The Model O- wireless takes the same shape issues that I had with the Model O wireless and exaggerates them and makes them more annoying because the mouse is smaller. The biggest positive is that the mouse buttons are still super wide despite the fact that this mouse is so tiny, and I do also think that a lot of FPS players are going to gravitate more to the Model O- wireless because small ambidextrous shaped mice seem to be popular for FPS games. A small mouse that I would much rather prefer using is the Razer Viper Mini. The Viper Mini doesn't feel nearly as flat as the Model O-, and it has a lot more room to grip the sides of the mouse. For me, the shape on the Model O- wireless was less than ideal, and I spent a lot more time on the Model D wireless because of that. So now I'm gonna have SammyGreen share his thoughts on the Model D wireless.
Hey there, I am SammyGreen, and I'm a Bedwars YouTuber from Australia who's played the game way too much. Alright, now Intel invited me onto his video for me to share my experience with the wireless Model D, as I also just recently purchased that mouse. I want to start this off by saying I'm not by any means a mouse or tech reviewer. I'm just an average gamer who basically just purchased this mouse, and I'm going to give my honest opinion on the mouse. And yeah, before I got the Model D, I'd used the Razer Naga Chroma for I think like around 5 years, so ever since I started PC gaming basically, and had bought 3 of those mice over the years and never really thought of switching to anything else. And this was mainly due to the insanely useful yet controversial 12 thumb buttons on the side of that mouse. Now, I never considered switching mice because I use these buttons for hotkeying in Minecraft, and I was pretty accustomed to using them, and I was kind of scared that I'd lose a lot of my muscle memory if I had to completely relearn hotkeying, you know, without the mouse, as, you know, every other mouse basically has 2 or less side buttons. After using the Model D for about 2 months now, I'm starting to get a little bit of the hang of hotkeying with my keyboard, and the lack of side buttons hasn't really bugged me as much as I thought it would. Thought it was going to be a big deal breaker, but I've managed to kind of readjust and sort of almost get back to the hang of Bedwars without being able to hotkey with my mouse. So it's sort of not been as big of an obstacle as I thought it would be. Now, when it comes to what I like about the mouse, it's kind of hard to know where to start, as it pretty much beats the Naga in almost every way, which I'm sure Intel's probably yelled at you about 6,000 times by now, because he absolutely hates the Naga and he used to clown on me for it. So stuff you, Intel, this is for you. But yeah, basically it's extremely lightweight. It's about 69 grams, which I'm sure Intel's also said. But my old mouse that I used to use was 120 grams, which is essentially double the weight. So this feels extremely light, and it's like astronomically easier and more precise to use. Aiming's just like a breeze at this point, and it just upgrades the feel of the mouse to a whole nother level. Now I predominantly butterfly click, and have found this mouse to be amazing for doing so, as the clicks register almost instantly, and the option for a low debounce time makes double clicking a breeze. This makes things like block clutching much easier than I have experienced on my Naga, and there's a little clip running at the moment of one of my block clutch attempts that obviously it didn't work, but it was pretty sick. But and that was thanks to the mouse, I assume. I don't know, maybe I'm just insane. But being wireless, I found that the mouse is extremely convenient and easy to use, and the plug and play option for when its battery runs out is also a lifesaver. It's extremely easy to use that as well, and it's good stuff. I also own a Model O, which I got like a few months before my Model D to try to learn the hotkeying a little bit before I actually got the wireless one. And as a right-hander, I personally prefer the ergonomic design of the Model D over the Model O, as it just feels more natural in my hand. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's kind of hard to say anything negative about a mouse that is of the build quality that this mouse is, especially when it's set at such an affordable price compared to other gaming mice. That's pretty much all from me. I hope my insight in this video was useful. I highly doubt it, because I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm trying my best here, alright? But yeah, thank you to Intel for allowing me to contribute to his video, and yeah, that'll be me. And subscribe to Intel Edits, please. He's desperate. He paid me to say this.
Alright, so now it's time for my conclusion. Should you buy the Model D wireless or Model O minus wireless? I think a lot of people are really going to like the Model D wireless, even more so than the Model O wireless, which I already know is really popular. If your hands are a lot smaller though, this shape may feel too big for you, but Glorious does have a Model D minus wireless, which should be a lot better for people with smaller hands. I just really wish that the clicks on the Model D wireless were just a little bit lighter and a little bit more bouncier. If that was the case, then this mouse would actually be serious competition for my Logitech G Pro Wireless Superlight. The Model O minus wireless is also a super solid option if you have super tiny baby hands. I'd really only consider this mouse if your hands are on the smaller side, but I do actually think that a lot of people in this community do have smaller hands, because there's a lot of players who are really young and their hands haven't finished growing. So if that's you, then I do think that the Model O minus wireless is a really good option to buy. But anyways guys, that's pretty much it for this video, so thank you so much for watching. Huge shout out to SammyGreen for being part of this video. His channel is going to be in the description of the video, so make sure to check him out if you're interested. If you want to help support me, then you can consider getting my new Lunar Client cloak. That is also going to be in the description of this video. Thank you guys for watching once again, and with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.